Thanks for nothing, Leicester. Thanks for nothing. I had to sit through that terrible game for 97 minutes or so, and you just couldn't manage the game. Is Yeah. I mean, we knew that this was going to happen. And to be quite honest, Spurs probably should have easily won that game 3-0. Um, and Leicester were lucky to be in it, but they're just did what they always do, which is they can't finish the job. And so, yeah, it was just like the way it happened because like I definitely was there like, yes, yes, yes. And then like 5 seconds later, Spurs are winning the match, so there you go. But hey guys, so let me know how you guys are feeling in the chat box. We're going to do a little preview for Arsenal versus Liverpool, Carabao Cup second leg at home. So we're going to be talking about that. There's some other kind of news as well that we can touch on. The Granit Xhaka news, not Granit Xhaka, probably shouldn't have said that, but the FA investigating the weird betting patterns for an Arsenal match that happened this season, and a little bit of Arteta's presser. So that's kind of what we're going to be going over today, and lineups, predictions, all of that kind of stuff. And no, there's no new news on Vlahovic. Nothing has really happened. It's more just like more of the same. And to be honest, it's getting to the point in the transfer window where it's kind of like shit or get off the pot. We need to get something over the line. We're still light in midfield. Granit Xhaka is still suspended, and we have an easy run of games. I don't want to call it easy, but it's an easier run of games. And we should be able to get a lot of points from these matches. But, we're just a little light in midfield still. And just watching the other teams and realizing that, there are other teams in the league that don't really need to play that well to win matches. We need something more in our team in order to get this over the line. And I've always maintained that I think we are, in my mind, slightly overachieving. And top four is something that we can look towards and something that we may be able to achieve this season because other teams have not played as well. But we're going to have to really earn it. If we get it, we're going to have to really earn it. And just below that are just 2 more spots for Europa League. And so when I look at West Ham, who just seems to not really want to go away, Manchester United, who can play terrible, terrible football and still get a couple of points here or there, and Spurs as well, who don't seem to have to play well and still, win games. There's 7. It's like one team is going to miss out, and I can't be Arsenal. So even though I'm almost okay with us not getting top 4, because I kind of feel as though we're kind of punching above our weight a little bit, I'm not okay with us not getting top 6. And we're going to have to really fight for it if we want to get it. And so I think we need something else. We need a striker or another midfielder or something to allow us to push at the back end of the season, because Lacazette and Nketiah as your 2 main striker options is not going to be enough. And Thomas Partey, Granit Xhaka, Sambi Lokonga, and El Neni for me is also not enough to get even top 6, I think. I think that the teams are too strong and they're playing, if they don't even have to play well to win games, we really need something to zhuzh our little group up. But nevertheless, I mean, the top 4 conversation can happen on another day. But today we have to, or tomorrow we have to focus on our match against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup semifinal. Solo says, still buy Tielemans. He just wanted to lower this price for us. Just don't jump off the wagon. The thing about Tielemans, though, for me, though, Solo, is that I believe that we can't really. I get why people want Tielemans, and I do think that he's a good player, but he's not a good two-way player. He's not good off the ball. And so in order to make up for that flaw, you have to have an excellent CDM. And over the years, they've had Ndidi, and Ndidi has really allowed Leicester to play with two attacking midfielders, and just a lone DM. And that is something that a lot of Arsenal fans want to see. But we don't have an Ndidi. We have Thomas Partey. And so this is why we play with a double pivot. That's what works for us. And in order to have a Tielemans and an Odegaard working in a midfield together, we would also need to bring in somebody like Bissouma. And I don't think we're going to be in the market for two expensive central midfielders. So if you have to ask me now, which midfielder would I prefer? Would I prefer to get the CDM that we've been dying for, to replace Granit Xhaka, or would I prefer to get Tielemans? I would probably take the DM. So I think for me, it's about priorities. I think Tielemans is a good player, but we don't really have the system or the players around him that could allow him to not be a liability. And I don't think I would bring him in and then bench Odegaard and still play with two pivots in behind, because Odegaard for me is somebody that we need to be building the team around. So yeah, Solo, it's not that I don't think Tielemans is a good player. He had a terrible game today. He looks very off the pace. But he's just somebody that you really need to have a player behind him sweeping up, and we don't really have that right now. Let's see. Jen's Loco says Aubameyang is going to play. I'm not sure he does. From what Arteta said, was that first we have to look at what's going on with him in terms of being able to play football. And there's several different reports that have come out today that, one, Arsenal want to look at what's going on with his health, and two, we are kind of ready to part ways from him. And with the higher profile players that we've had since Arteta has been here that we wanted to part ways with, a lot of times they don't get back into the team. So I'm not sure that I see some sort of Aubameyang coming back into the team like that, unless we're really, really skint. Let's see. Yeah, but Tielemans was, terrible. So Diallo says Leicester had no DM today. Tielemans was stupid in his positioning and ball giveaways. Decent player, but can't defend. Yeah, exactly. And so he's just one of those without a DM. I don't see why we would go out and get him unless we are try to get a DM as well. Also, the thing about Bissouma, you guys, for me, you're innocent until proven guilty, and he hasn't been charged for anything. So I'm not going to call him something that I don't know that he is. So yeah, like that's just my thing. So we are linked with Bissouma still. Bissouma's still playing in the Premier League. He has not went to jail. He has not been charged with anything. He has been investigated. And so for me, you're innocent until proven guilty, really. But I hear what you guys are saying about not wanting Bissouma in the team because of personal issues that may be going on with him. But we have to be cognizant of him not actually being charged with those things as of yet. So there we go. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. So Arteta talked to, and my dog is, of course, barking like bloody murder as soon as I start doing a show. So I apologize for that. But essentially, Arsenal have wanted to be quite hush-hush about who's available and who's not for this match, because they don't want Liverpool to get the heads up. So, Arteta kind of talked about, where is it? I saw it. He did talk about it. He kind of talked about wanting to keep things under wraps a little bit in terms of who's available. Oh yeah, it says on whether he can give an overview of the latest team news. He said, I don't want to because I don't want to give anything away. I'm sorry. There are issues. Those issues have to be resolved. That is why we couldn't play the last game. But as you can understand, we want to keep them internal. On Smith Rowe, Tomiyasu, and Odegaard's availability, they are three cases that for different reasons haven't been able to play for us in recent weeks, and we are trying to change and raise the levels of the team in the best possible way to compete tomorrow. Some pictures were leaked from training, and I don't know if they took them down or not, but it did show Smith Rowe in training, Tomiyasu in training, and Odegaard. And we know that it's already been reported that Odegaard has come back into training after his COVID situation. So those players look like they could be involved, but we don't know for sure. He kind of talked about the North London Derby being postponed. He said that, we didn't have the players to compete. That's 100% guaranteed. There's no win situation. Now we postpone the match for the right reasons, believe me. And as well, you get those reactions, but we think it's normal. I think the key points that Arteta made that I kind of liked was that he said we had to play games through not having the right amount of players. We had to play games where we didn't have, our best possible team. We had 10 players out. And even at the beginning of the season, we had a game that should have been postponed that wasn't. And everybody laughed at us because we lost to Brentford. So, he already kind of I think that was a good point to make, is that it's not like we never tried to play without our strongest team. We went through when everybody else was calling off games, we were still playing them. And now we're in a position where we're going to call off our game. It just so happens to be the North London Derby. And we were honest about how many COVID cases we had and how many we didn't. And it just made people upset. But he didn't really understand the reaction. And we all know what the reaction really comes from. It's because it was Arsenal. Burnley did the exact same thing. They sold their striker, and then the very next game, they wanted it called off. So everybody, basically is doing the same things, but because it was Arsenal and it was the North London Derby and they felt like we were getting an advantage, they piled on us. But we have played games without our strongest team. So, it's not like we didn't play Nottingham Forest with Charlie Patino and Sambi Lakanga as our midfield. So there you go. Let's see. RJ Blaylock says rumor is Vlahovic is supposedly to be announced by the end of week or after Burnley. I don't know anything about that, you guys. I really have no confidence that gets done. To be honest, I don't see how it does. To be honest. But yeah, so we don't actually know who's available and who's not. We just know that some of our players have come back, so we are able to play this match, and that's good. And we also know that Thomas Partey has come back from AFCON, not good for Ghana, good for us, and he should be available as soon as possible, which I would assume is for the Burnley match on Sunday, if it should go ahead. So we still have some positions that don't feel very secure, in particular midfield. Because Granit Xhaka will be suspended for this match. So I still don't know who's going to play in midfield, but we can talk about that in a second. Captain Joka says Lacazette, Saka, Martinelli, Sambi, White, Tierney, Gabriel, Holding, Chambers, and Ramsdale should be our starting lineup. Let's see. Diallo says, judging from that Spurs intensity today, I can't help but think we would have lost with a depleted team. Possibly, but I also think that Leicester had several chances to put that game away. And I don't think, when I look at Leicester, I don't see Arsenal. I think Arsenal, we'd have had everything but our midfield. Leicester didn't have a decent defense. They didn't have their number one striker, and they also had a very light midfield. So I hear what you guys are saying. It may have been a more difficult game than it should have been. But when I look at Spurs, and I do think that they played well today and deserved to win, but Leicester could have won that game because there are still glaring issues in that Spurs team, namely their defense. And so I still think that it would have been a tough game for them to play against us because we don't have Vestergaard and Soyuncu in our back line. We have Ben White and Gabriel. It's completely different. But I hear what you're saying. And I'm okay with the game being postponed and played at a different time. Captain Joka says, would you rather play with a strong midfield and no striker, or getting Vlahovic and have a weak midfield? Well, it depends on what you think about our midfield for the rest of the season. Because I do think our midfield has an issue once you get beyond xhaka and Thomas Partey, and I would like there to be another senior midfielder there. That's good. If I'm honest, like Sambi is really young and green, and El Neni is not good enough. So those are our only other options in that double pivot if something happens to Xhaka and Thomas Partey. Xhaka is somebody that has been traditionally almost always available and has been the most unreliable person this season through injury, suspension, and COVID. So you can't rely upon him. And you also, to a certain extent, can't rely upon Thomas Partey because he gets injured so much. So we still have 3 or 4 months, like 3 or so 4 months left in the season where if those two players are not there, and I don't even like, I like if we have to play them, they have to kind of play together as well. I don't think we really found anything that felt secure without the two of them together. So midfield for me feels like a big issue because if you get 1 or 2 injuries or a COVID case, that could really affect what you're doing. Now, with the striker situation, we are a Lacazette injury away from complete mayhem and confusion. And so I do think when you look at it that way, would you rather bank on Lacazette, or do you want to bank on Xhaka and Thomas Partey? I think, although I do think that the midfield is a big, big issue, I think getting the striker, if we can do it, helps us. But Xhaka and Thomas Partey will have some other situations throughout the season, and we just have to figure out whether or not we can fix it. So, yeah, I think I'd go for Vlahovic now if we could get it done. But we still need a midfielder, and bringing in like Artur on loan, I think it just would help so that the next man up is not El Neni, or Sambi can play in less high stakes games. We're going to have some more high stakes games coming up. And if Thomas Partey or Xhaka are not available, you don't really want to be calling upon Sambi. We've done that a lot this season and he's done okay. But, we're talking about the difference between top 4 and top 6 really could be a couple of points. So we really don't want to be losing out because we decided, it's okay to go with 2 midfielders that haven't been reliable this season. Let's see. Dev M says, am I worried about Thomas Partey's mental state after crashing out of AFCON so early? No, not necessarily. Not really. I'm just hoping that he's like COVID free, and I was hoping that he'd come back uninjured and that kind of stuff. But in terms of his mental state, I can't say so. I think that we'll see after the first match that he plays if there's something there. But I don't know if I really feel any type of way about his mental state, to be honest. Do you? So you can let me know. Blaze says, Jess, do you think we need to buy another midfielder or striker when Partey will return? I think we need both. I do think we need both. Because like I just said, Thomas Partey and Xhaka have been unreliable this season, and you don't want to leave, top 4/top 6 to El Neni and Sambi, but then you have Lacazette, who hasn't really gotten injured this season, but you never really know. And then the next man up is Nketiah. And, you know, I don't think you really want that, so it just kind of depends on how you guys think. I personally feel like if you could get Vlahovic this window, try your hardest. But I think you almost need to bring in a midfielder no matter what, because I just cannot watch El Neni play in a high stakes match. I can't do it, So I think you have to bring in a midfielder no matter what. And then if you can get Vlahovic over the line, then you know, then do it, but don't miss out on the midfielder. Um, let's see. Captain Joka says 4-5-1 is what we need to go to win against Liverpool. So let's kind of talk about how we think the game is going to go. 0-0. We did a really good job getting away from Liverpool and Anfield in the last round, which was nice. But I feel like they will be strong in this match. But what we have is the home advantage and the crowd and all that kind of stuff. What we don't, I think we've had enough of time off where we should be fresh. The time off, it affects people differently, which is interesting because time off can make people rusty, which I watched Leicester and I thought that they looked kind of rusty because they haven't really been playing a lot of games lately. And then you look at teams like Spurs who take a long time off and look like they're just in really, really good shape. And that might be because of how their training is, if it's intense or not. So we should be rested. We should have the crowd behind us. We should be ready to go. We should feel a sense of tribalism and us against the world. But Liverpool will probably feel like, I can't believe they got out of, Anfield without, we didn't get a goal, So I think it's going to be a tough match, to be honest. But I think we can win it. And I kind of said from the beginning that I think cups are important. I really, really do. Because if you get to the final and you beat Chelsea in the final of the Carabao Cup, that can jumpstart your season. And not jumpstart it, but keep it going. Give you that little bit of momentum that you'll need to get to the, top 4/top 6, whatever the goal is. And so I think it's important to have a good showing against Liverpool and to try to get to the final. I also think cups are important because if we do finish 6th, it would be nice to know that we at least got to the final of one of the cups that we're in. We're not in Europe. And I think a team like Arsenal should be able to compete in multiple competitions and do well. I think it's something that we need to get used to. For all the fans that want to be in Champions League next season, how hard do you think it's going to be juggling the Premier League that's getting harder and stronger every single year and also be in Champions League? So I don't think that this is necessarily, for me, this is something that I feel like we should be doing. And crashing out of the FA Cup still kind of sits with me a little bit. It's still kind of like, wow, I can't believe we went out so early. So I would love to see us try to really win this game because we have Burnley at the weekend and I would expect to smash them at home. So we can kind of go all out and play against a depleted Burnley squad. They don't have Cornet. Cornet they have no Wood and no Cornet. We should be able to beat them. So looking forward, there shouldn't be anything really keeping us from going 100% against Liverpool. Hold on, somebody is texting me. I don't know why. Yeah, and so I think it's going to be a tough match. I think they'll come out all guns blazing, but what we've kind of seen is that without Salah and Mane, they are different. They're still strong, but they're different. It's definitely not the same as it is when you're playing against them. What we also saw in the first leg was that if we can get a hold of the ball, we can potentially create chances. We had opportunities to do so, and it kind of got taken away from us because of the red card. And so I think it's going to be them obviously having the bulk of possession, but kind of similar to the Man City game, where if we are organized and we play our way, we can get something out of this, because the Liverpool defense for me is nowhere near as good as Man City's. And we saw that when we put them under some pressure, we could probably get something out of them. So, yeah, I think the game is going to be close, but I think we can get something out of it. I think we have every right to go to the final as they do. I think we're just as much in this as they are. And if there was ever a time to play against Liverpool, it's now without Salah and Mane. And we need, I think getting to the final is a good thing. Arteta needs another final, like on his CV. Since the FA Cup that he won, he hasn't reached another final, has he? He's kind of burned out of a lot of competitions quite early. So it's I think we need to get to the final on this one, or at least really try to make it a tough game. Winchester Crew podcast says Tommy is really needed in this game, but it will be press and Arsenal should be counter. Yeah, I think we will be on the counter. I think it'll be similar to the Man City game, where they'll have a lot of the possession and they'll be probing, but as long as we are more organized than we were in those first 10, because those first 10 minutes that we played against Liverpool at Anfield, I thought we were stressed a little bit, and we kind of got away with it, and then we started to grow into the game, and then Granit Xhaka got a red. So I think it's one of those where we just can't give up something silly early on in the game. We will grow into it, and when we get our opportunities, we kind of have to put them away, because we will get some. We're at home, we will get some. Diallo says, can't stress enough, but we really need Starboy Saka in these big games. But I mean, he does show up in the big games for us, and he has for a while. It's just the rest of the team hasn't shown up. Over the years, like the last 2 seasons, he has shown up in big games for us, but the rest of the team has just been ass. So I think he will show up, and we'll need Martinelli. We'll need the same level of intensity that we had in the first leg for this one, but with more polish. And please, can we play with 11 men? Can we not go down to 10 men early or at all? Let's see. Captain Joka says, let's just hope Tomiyasu, Saka, or Ramsdale don't get a serious injury. We wouldn't even get our top 6. Our players have to stay fit. Yes, they have to stay fit, but we also can't be afraid to play 110% because we want to save our players and all of that. I do hear what you're saying. Saka and Tomiyasu and Ramsdale are kind of like it, but I also kind of view White and Gabriel as that as well, especially because we kind of just got rid of Pablo Marie as well. Holding is definitely not Ben White. So we kind of are like a top layer team, where when you start to go below that first layer, that first 11, the next options are really not that good. So essentially the first 11 kind of has to stay fit and available, don't they? Because beyond Tavares and Sambi, the rest of them, it's like, I'm not trying to see you. Like, I'm really not trying to see you. Dev says winning against Liverpool at home will be a big boost for the team's confidence. And that's what I really look at. I know that some people really don't rate the cups, but I think about what small wins and big wins can we take with us along the season, because it's going to be tough. Like these last couple of months are going to be very, very difficult, because other teams are ramping up. The injuries are coming. Once we get past January, there are no new players that can come in. So we just have to kind of take those small wins and not take anything for granted. And I just think if you beat Liverpool midweek and you don't get any crazy injuries, and you beat Burnley at the weekend, you send a serious message to the rest of everybody fighting for top 4 that we're serious. And I think they're sending messages as well that we may be shit, but we're serious. You know what I mean? So we really need small wins, especially for the young players. Smith Rowe, I think he's also somebody. Yeah. So Smith Rowe is another person, but I kind of count him first 11. I don't really count him as a backup. because him or Martinelli, they can be interchanged. So that's no disrespect for Smith Rowe. I think there's like a first 12, and he's definitely a part of that. But I'm really talking about beyond Sambi and Tavares when we start getting into the Cedrics and the Holdings, these guys, El Neni, they're just not good enough. And so if we have to play through an extended period with those guys, I'm not feeling super confident about that. So yeah, I mean, are you guys feeling how do you guys think the game is going to go? Do you think that it's going to be similar to the Man City match where we are really up for it, we're really, confident and contained, and we kind of look like we have a game plan, or do you think that will be a little bit shaky? What do you guys think? And West Ham is still up there as well, and it's not that I need to see them sustain before I start like acting like I'm afraid of West Ham. I do keep looking and I'm like, damn, are they ever gonna like fall off? But they will start to have to play um not Champions League, Europa League games again, and that's why I'm like, okay, maybe the drop off will come, because that's where their first drop off came. Then Europa League stopped, and then they got strong again. But West Ham is definitely still in there. Manchester United play West Ham at the weekend, and Chelsea play Tottenham. So there is, these teams are going to have to play each other. They're going to drop points. And then we're going through our easier period of our schedule where we need to start really gaining points. So we'll see where West Ham is when they start playing Europa again. But I'm not really going to be super worried about them just yet. If we get to the end of March and they're still in and around, then they're serious. Banton says, does anyone know if Partey is going to be back in time for Liverpool or Burnley? I think Burnley, yes. Liverpool, no. Arteta said in his press conference that he wants him involved as soon as possible. So I would say Burnley. No reason for you to be off, really. Seawalder says, I'm sensing that Arteta is bang up for this one. He's being really secretive about player availability in his recent press conference, so that the more so than normal. Yeah, for sure. Clamps says, after the outrage from the media, etc., we should be up for it. Hearing Arteta today, it sounds like he uses it as fuel, which we should really. Talking about defending the club with teeth and nails. Yeah, we have to be up for this game. I don't see a reason not to. It's an opportunity to get to a final in a cup. So even though we have downplayed the cups, just imagine if we could get anywhere between 4th and 6th and also say that we won the League Cup. That's important. And we can't play down the cups, because it's a big reason why Arteta kept his job even through tough times, is because he had won the FA Cup so early in his tenure. And I think to just minimize the cups because we're going to focus on the league, I think is a missed opportunity to galvanize the group through, because cup matches, you have to kind of be like all or nothing, us versus the world. And I think that can be important for us moving forward, but that's just how I think about it. Seawalder says, oh yeah, you did say that. Winchester says, I think Liverpool will be like Man City, or they go full defensive in the game, but I can see Liverpool losing, but depends on how Arsenal play. The midfield is going to be tough tomorrow. Yes, it's going to be rough. It's definitely going to be rough. So we'll definitely see, but let's go ahead and build our lineup now. There's about 130 of you guys here. Thank you. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let me just pull up our little thingamajiggy. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys see? Yes, you can. All right. So let's do this. So here's the thing. So we only have one recognized, we only have one midfielder still. Thomas Partey, I don't think will be ready to play in this game. So we still have a dilemma when it comes to midfield. But what we do have is more players available to make this selection a little bit easier. I'm going to say this first off. I don't want to see Lacazette in midfield, and I don't want to see Eddie Nketiah. I think if Emile Smith-Rowe is available, we need to use him because I just don't. I think it would have kind of worked against Liverpool, but I just think we need to go with our best players. And Eddie Nketiah is not one of them, and I don't particularly like Lacazette playing in midfield. I like him dropping in, but when he's like pretty much playing central midfield, I don't think that that's the best use of the striker, like one of our attacking positions. So without another attacking midfielder, it'll make sense in a minute, but let's go with our strongest guys here. Gabriel, White, unless we've missed something, these players should all be available. Ben White also, for me, in that last match showed that I think that he could be a future Arsenal captain. And he's somebody that if Lacazette, goes out of the match or something, he should get the armband because that guy played like how xhaka, our pseudo leader, should have been playing in midfield for us against Liverpool. But he took himself out of the game and did something silly. And Ben White, it didn't look like he was phased. He looked like he went up a level. And we know Ben White to be kind of like this ball playing center back, and people kind of make it out like he's, almost soft in a way. And I think he showed that he has like another level to who he is as a player. And so for me, Ben White is somebody that is gradually going up the pecking order for leaders in this team, and we need it. We need players to start stepping up. Tomiyasu, if he's back, which I feel like he is, and Tierney as well, who had a good game against Liverpool last time out. And then so this is where it kind of gets interesting with midfield. Now, again, I don't want to see Lacazette like dropped in or any weirdness like that. And I kind of would like to see us match them up. I don't want to play in a 3-back. I don't think we have to play in a 3-back if we're not a man down. So what I would do is I would go with the obvious choice in Sambi. What else are you going to do here? Sambi. And then I would play, make sure I get this right. Now, see, this is where it gets a little bit like, okay, I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do, but when I know that Saka is our best right winger, but I also think he's one of our most flexible players that could play in multiple positions and still be good for us. And I think he kind of played in a kind of midfieldy role against Liverpool. He obviously had to get forward as well, and that's why he was so tired. But when I look at who would I rather see in midfield in there on transition, and who do I trust the most, and who do I think I'll still get the most bang for my buck in terms of playing in midfield between Bukayo Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe, I almost feel like I'd rather put Saka in there and Odegaard, because it's something about Smith-Rowe when he plays in a midfield 3 that I think he lacks the two-way ability. He's not somebody that does a good job like really tracking every single time. And I think in moments like this where you don't have enough players, like you don't have your number one lineup, you maybe will move your best player, your most reliable player, and hope that that works out for you. So for me, this may be a little bit galaxy brain, but because I don't really trust Smith-Rowe in that number 8 role, and I think you probably need something a little bit different, I'd probably play some combination of Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka in midfield. And obviously, Saka would become somewhat of a 10. Odegaard and Sambi could kind of play like a midfield pivot, but when we're in possession, Odegaard could go up a little bit. But it's something about Smith-Rowe, and I don't think he has enough two-way ability where Saka has more of that. And I have nightmares about Odegaard and Smith-Rowe in midfield together from the Villarreal game. So I think we should learn from that and not do it again. So I would actually put Smith-Rowe here on the left and Martinelli here on the right. and Lacazette. And basically my job, my thought process was to get all of our best players out there, play similarly to the way that we usually play. But with the midfield, it's a little bit difficult. And I just, as much as I think Smith Rowe could potentially become a central midfielder at some point, I don't think I trust him there yet. And there were games last season, I believe, or maybe even the season. No, it was last season where Saka even played kind of in a midfield role. And so in moments where you need a player to kind of step up, I think this would work out best for us. And Saka can almost play like in a number 10 role in a way, and kind of play off of Martinelli and Smith Rowe. And, when I think who's our most technically secure players, who's going to keep the ball, who's going to make the right decisions at the right time, for me, that's Saka, and it's not Smith Rowe right now. And that's probably what I'd go with. What do you guys think? Let's see. So, sorry, I'm trying to get to the beginning of what you guys are saying. C. Walder says, I'd pay $50 million for Ben White. Winchester says, could play Smith Rowe at left CM. The reason, again, I cannot, when you watch Smith Rowe play, he's a very good player, but there are moments where he loses the ball cheaply. He is kind of lightweight, and I think Saka wouldn't really be playing central midfield, but it could be a version like somebody else is already saying, like a 4-4-2, where Saka's kind of a midfielder, but he also is kind of like, on the wing. And I don't know, something like that. It's kind of a 4-3-3/4-2-2, or 4-4-2. But either way, like if you drop Smith Rowe in there, I just think we can do it. I know people believe that he's this number 8, but he's definitely not that now. And I'm just not 100% sold on it, if I'm honest. But you could go with this. But this right here is where my issue lies, because he's just, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Kanan says Arteta will play Saka on the right 100%. And that's the issue, is that you weaken your front line by moving Saka out. But then I also think this midfield is not going to keep the ball the way that I would expect it to. And Smith Rowe, he's lightweight. And so I think Liverpool, what they'll do is when you get a Henderson or a Milner on him, he doesn't have the same ability to wiggle out of pressure that Saka does. That's just me, though. Nashville says Ramsdale, Tommy, Gabriel, White, KT, Sambi, Aziz, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, Laka. So you guys think Aziz could potentially play? Is that what we're doing? We're dropping him into a semifinal, first game back? Cool. But see, you say Fabinho and Saka is a mismatch, but I think Emile Smith Rowe is a mismatch as well. I think we kind of project onto Emile Smith Rowe that he's this 8 already, and he's really not. He's more of like a wing forward. But there you go. Let's see. Put Smith Rowe in midfield. I don't know. Jen's Local says take Lacazette off. Can't do that. He's one of our most important players. Arteta rarely plays 4-3-3, but the thing is, you guys, we don't have another pivot. So I don't really see how we get away from playing a 4-3-3 unless we could play with a 4-4-2 instead, which is kind of what I'm going for. But you can't play a 4-2-3-1 with with one pivot. Like it doesn't work, But yeah, I hear what you're saying, but this is our kind of our issue is that we're all kind of like throwing things around and trying to see what can work and what couldn't. But really, we just need a midfielder. That's the most important thing. Um, okay, so that's when I look at I would and when I put Saka in midfield, I'm not saying he's going to play CDM. What I'm just saying is that if we need somebody to keep the ball, progresses up the pitch, who has the ability to turn on people and he has two-way ability and he's defensively responsible. Saka is more that for me than Emil Smith Rowe. But again, if you want to keep the forward line the same, then you do this. But I guarantee Smith Rowe is going to get eaten alive as well in that midfield. And Odegaard and Sambi, they're just all so lightweight, to be honest. And Saka has really bulked up and he's a lot less lightweight than people give him credit for. Now, you could go to your 4-4-2 as well, because you guys are saying that, and do because Arteta might be dying to give Eddie another chance up front and pull one of these and pull what's that boy's name? Odegaard, take him, do that, and then put Odegaard there, and just do that again. You could do that. Do you guys like that better? Is that better? Because that allows you to bring Emil Smith Rowe off the bench if you need something different. What do you guys think about that? Let's see. Kanan says 4-4-2 might work. Carlston says, I think Arsenal will end up top of Man U and Spurs. The only thing is the red cards and sometimes stupidity, but the young Gunners only have to progress a little bit more than top four is easily reachable. Fair enough. Fair enough. Funky Bunky says, I think a 4-3-3, 3-4-3 is the right call, but I doubt Arteta will use these two formations. I think it's going to be a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2. He hasn't really wanted to go to a 3-back unless forced upon him, and I don't think we'll be at home. So I think he'll see that as an advantage. And so I'm not sure if he goes right into a 3-back if we don't necessarily have to. But I could see a 4-4-2 and trying to get Eddie back into the side. And then you give yourself the opportunity to bring Emil Smith Rowe off the bench. But I just wonder if, even with that, would you not prefer to have Martinelli up top? Because he's somebody that people fear. And if I had one chance, and I wanted it to fall to the feet of somebody, if I had to choose between Nketiah and Martinelli, I'd prefer it to be Martinelli. And then you could put Emil Smith Rowe on the left. But I think maybe he forces Nketiah back in. Nashville says that team gets run through. Let's see. Daniel says, if we are lightweight in midfield, aren't we better with a 3 at the back and see if we can break us down? Then we have Martinelli, Saka, and flanks on the counter. Yes, but again, I don't really think that Arteta will go to a 3-back unless we go down a man. That's it. So that's why I'm going with 4 at the back squads. If I thought that there was a chance that Arteta would do it, I'd put it up there, but I think we're looking at 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, something like that. But this team right here is not horrible, but the 2 in midfield leaves a lot to be desired. And Odegaard will get swallowed up kind of, because I don't think Sambi has the ability to win the ball in midfield and just give it to Odegaard. The reason why Odegaard plays so well for us right now is because there's somebody in there to win the ball for him, namely xhaka and Thomas Partey, and they get it to him in between the lines. Sambi is not really able to do that on his own. So I see this midfield as just an issue. But what you do have, which ends up being basically the 4-4-1-1, is Lacazette dropping into midfield to win those balls for Odegaard and pass it out to Saka and Odegaard and Martinelli. So you can see that. Nashville says other option is holding at CB and White moves into the pivot. This idea about Ben White playing midfield, I think for me just doesn't really work, because I don't want to weaken my back line and then also have a midfield that has a center back in it. When I look at Ben White, I think he's very good on the ball for a center back, but he definitely is not Marquinhos in that way. Marquinhos is somebody who you could just drop into the central defensive midfield and it doesn't look any different. I think Ben White will look like a center back in midfield. So I'm not really going to, I don't think I could do it, but I hear that as well, and I don't want Holding in the side unless he has to be out there. Dev M says, I have a feeling that Nketiah will start, especially since he was taken off as a consequence of Xhaka's red card. And that's where this formation comes in. And it's just whether or not you think that maybe you should play ESR instead or whatever. But it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. But when I look at their midfield and I see it's like the Milners and the Oxlade-Chamberlains, and I think we can still do something, because that midfield, it's good, but it's not their absolute peak best. And so we can do it. We can do it. It's a cup match. And 4-4-2 does at least allow you to be really compact so that they can't really pass the ball in between and all of that. And so maybe it'll be 4-4-2. So Nashville says, I know you hate plugging and Holding, but it's an option. I'm not going to put him in there. I just can't unless we absolutely have to. RJ says, Odegaard and Martinelli play well off of each other, so Martinelli up top in a 4-4-2 works, or on the same side in a 4-3-3. Yeah, so, I mean, you could go with Martinelli up top instead, and then put in ESR. But then when you look at our bench too, if you put ESR in and you take Nketiah out, you don't really have anybody to take off the bench. Do you know what I mean? You don't have anybody that could potentially change the game. We have played all of our cards at that point. So it almost makes sense to because Nketiah, to be fair to him, away at Anfield, he did look up for it. Okay, you guys, Ox is injured. I hear you. Ox is injured. But what I'm saying is that their midfield is not at their peak best. That's what I mean. When you have Thiago and Fabinho and all of them firing at all cylinders, they're not that right now. That's what I meant. So Ox is injured. I hear you. But when you look at our bench, if you play Emile Smith-Rowe now, you don't have anything else really going for you. So, yeah, you might want to keep somebody there just in case we need a change. You never know. Captain Joka says, Chambers, Sambi midfield, Lacazette fall. Y'all are really pushing this Chambers midfield. I know he played well as a right back, but again, I want midfielders in midfield, unless we're just without anybody. Lacazette false 9, Martinelli left wing, Saka right wing. Let's see. Mr. Austin says, I worry if we lose this game, the confidence of the team will be crushed. Only if we get killed. I think only if we get killed. I think we're beyond that point of complete just death if we lose a game. I think we're beyond that. And we play Burnley at the weekend. And so I think what we need to do is a performance that allows us to at least go to overtime and penalties if that's what it takes. I just think let me stop. I think we just need a performance, and we've had them. We've had 2 this season where we haven't won, but we didn't leave that feeling wow, we just rolled over. We just can't roll over. It's still Liverpool. They're still a really good team. We still don't have our best players, but I do think we have a chance at home to get through to the final. I think having home now makes a difference, especially because we kept it 0-0 away from home. Nashville says it's Azizio. That's why he was recalled. He was playing more. Y'all really think Aziz is gonna play this match? Like, come on. Like, okay. Aziz, yes, he left and he was recalled, and he was playing more. But to drop him straight into a semifinal of, against Liverpool, do we not think that that's just like a little bit too, like, I wouldn't mind seeing him like a couple of minutes against Burnley if we're up 3-0. Like, I would like to see him against a team that's kind of like a little bit more, than Liverpool in a semifinal, but I hear what you're saying. Ahmed says Chambers for Nketiah in a 4-2-3-1. He was the player of the year in midfield for Fulham a couple years ago. Again, that was a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, you guys. Like, do we think that do we really think that, I mean, if Arteta hasn't tried it, so he must know that he might not be up to scratch when it comes to playing midfield. Playing midfield for Fulham, is not really with Arsenal against Liverpool in the semifinals of the Carabao Cup, but I hear you. Springer says Aziz isn't playing. He has COVID. Check the website. So yeah, he's not available then as well. So yeah, I don't think that that's really an option, but I think we will see some version of what we've been talking about. But what I do know is that if we have Saka, Lacazette, Martinelli, Sambi, Odegaard, and the back line, we have a chance. We have a chance. We can make it work. Arteta's been working with them on the pitch to get them ready for this game. And so we should at least see a performance and see a team that's ready to go. And then we go on to Burnley at the weekend and we slap them up. That's what I expect to see. So you guys, let's go into some score predictions. What do you guys think is actually going to happen in this match? In terms of score lines, do we get through? Do we get to the final? Do we have to go to penalties? What do you think? Let me know. Let's see what you guys are saying. Funky Bunky says, imagine being a youngster loaned to Portsmouth and chilling, and suddenly the club recalled you and you need to play against Liverpool in a semifinal. Exactly. I think it's too early, but that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Springer says Party or Wilshire might play. I don't know. I think the Wilshire thing is dead. Kahembi says 2-1 to the Arsenal. Ahmed says 1-0. RJ says 3-2 AFC. Winchester Crew Podcast says 2-1 Arsenal. We must not want this to go into pens. We actually don't need it to go any further. Like, it kind of needs to be done at full time, for real. Nashville says 3-1 for a team that wears red home kits. Okay. Dev M says 2-1 to the Arsenal. Springer says Liverpool are better than us. We will lose, unfortunately, 4-1. Wow, that's a big scoreline. Kanan says 1-0 to the Arsenal. Clam says 3-1 to the Arsenal. Mr. Austin says 1-1. Then extra time to penalties. Arsenal win. Diallo says 1-1. We went on pens. Funky Bunky 1-0 to the Arsenal. So we're pretty confident. True Sets Free says 2-1 to the Arsenal. And Mohammed says 3-2 extra time goal from Laka. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty confident. And I do think that the cups give you a different atmosphere where in the league, you may not really have a chance against a certain team, but in cups, because it's kind of like do or die, you have a chance. And so at the very least, we just want to see a performance. We want to be entertained. We want to feel like we are in it. We don't want to be blown away. And whatever the result, as long as we get the performance and we don't get blown away, I think we go on to Burnley and do just fine. And we just have to hope for no injuries. And then we look to the weekend. Hopefully, we will have signed somebody, a midfielder. It'd be really, really nice to get a midfielder over the line and get Thomas Partey back into the side. That will mean that we'll have Aziz. Party, and hopefully another midfielder. So when you look at that, you have more options just in case, and I think that that's what you want to look at going into the back end of the season. Stu MC says it's the Emirates just mostly entitled glory hunters. It's devoid of soul, bar maybe North London Derby. I mean, hey, that's your opinion. I mean, a lot of like match day going fans have said that the atmosphere has been very good over since the season has basically started. So, but yeah, if it's, I don't know. I don't know, but hey, there you go. The Truth Says Free, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, do you do live watch alongs, Jess? Thanks for the show. I don't, because we did start doing them. We did a couple at the beginning of the season, but they didn't work because Souls and I couldn't get our streams linked or synced. So he would know what happened like 2 minutes before I knew. And so it didn't really work out. If we do get to the final of the Carabao Cup, I may do one just by myself. And as the season goes on, we'll see what happens. But if you guys want watch alongs, I'll try to do them again, but they'll probably just be with me because I can't have Souls knowing what's happening before me. We did it for the Brentford match. That was a nightmare. We did it for the Manchester City match, the first one. It was a nightmare. But then we also did it for the North London Derby, and that one went okay. So there you go. Springer says, Jess, would you take a horrendous performance in a 1-0 win, but Saka is injured for 2 months? Oh my goodness. No, I wouldn't, because Saka injured for 2 months means that our hopes of top 4 are gone. So no, I would not take that. I would not. Nashville says, does not work because Jess has a potty mouth while watching games. She gets demonetized. Look, when I watch the games, I just watch them as I normally would. And so, yeah, I have no chill. And when Arsenal's playing, I'm very much so like unhinged, so this is true. Kanan says, I've been to most home matches this season. The atmosphere has been much better this season. That's what I've heard. When I went, I've been twice, and I felt like it was a little rank, but that was like a couple years ago when one of them was when Arteta was in charge. And it was a little like, ooh, what's going on here? And then the first one was when Emery was in charge. So yeah, the atmosphere wasn't great, but people have said that it's gotten better, so we'll see. Rapstar, thank you so much for your super chat. Rapstar says, hope we smash you folks tomorrow. Big up. Well, thank you for your super chat. But hopefully not. BX Gunner says, Jack Wilshere posting teases on his IG. What is he posting? Like that he's gonna play, or like what? What's happening? Let me check. Let's see, Jack. This is from today. Oh, about an hour ago. He better not be playing. That's all I'm saying. He better not play. Diallo says, which game would you rather win if you could only win one? Pool or Burnley? Burnley. Because we need them points. I'd love to win both. But that's why I said a performance is all I really need from the Liverpool match. I'd love to win that game. I love cup games. I love the cups. Like, I'm just a fan that like loves those moments. But if I had to win one, it has to be Burnley because we need the points on the board. And we're going through one of our easier parts of the season. And so it's crazy because we're actually coming to the end. And really, it's because we haven't played against Spurs, really. But we're coming to the end of that really scary run that we were all like had up on the screen at the beginning of January, where it was like, we're going to play Man City, we're going to play Liverpool, we're going to play this, we've gotten through it. We haven't won any of these games, but we're getting through it. And now we're getting to the Burnleys and Wolves, Brentford and Watford. And I would expect, and Leicester, because we owe them an ass whooping for what they did today. So I would expect some wins in there. The Truth Sets Free, thank you so much for your super chat, says, if it's not a pain in the ass, I think it would be awesome if you did live watch along sometimes. It's fun to watch the game with the group. Yeah, for sure. Like, I will look at my schedule and see what games I can commit to, and I'll try to make them good ones. And we'll see what happens. Maybe the North London Derby will be a good one when it gets rescheduled. Magzino says, Jess, how good is Arthur Mello? Artur is, so the last time that I spent a lot of time really watching Artur was when he was playing for Brazil for the in the Copa America. So that was not this last one where Argentina won, but it was the one prior to that where Barcelona won, not Barcelona, Brazil won. And he was still on Barcelona at that time, I believe. And I thought, was a good player. Like, he's not somebody that the Arsenal fan base are going to get super excited for, because he's not really somebody who scores a lot of goals, but he's somebody that can keep the ball. He's good on the ball. He can get you from defense to attack. He can make the right decisions. He can, in some games, play in a double pivot, but mostly kind of is like another number 8 in a 4-3-3. So how Brazil would normally play was with whatever DM. They have at least 10 DMs that are world class. And then they would play with like Artur and somebody else. And I think sometimes they even play with like Artur and Neymar. Like Neymar would play the 10. But Artur is an 8, but he can play kind of like a 6 role in a double pivot in some games. I think he's really good. He's just somebody that made the wrong move at the, and he didn't even make it. It was such a scandalous swap deal. And this is why I'm reluctant to say players that I feel like have made bad moves are bad players and are washed, because you can just be in a really bad moment. And I think Artur is somebody that we could use at the back end of the season. Is he going to change everything about us? Maybe not. I think that type of player would be somebody like whoever's going to take over for Granit Xhaka is going to be the person that takes us into the top 4. But he's definitely somebody that can supplement for Xhaka and Thomas Partey. So the drop off between those two is not so massive. And when I look at him, he's somebody who's won the Copa America. He's played in the Champions League more than Xhaka has, like in the last 5 years. And so I'm reluctant to say somebody that has been a big part of Barcelona at one point, played in the Copa America, and like somebody like that at 25 years old is just washed. I want to look at it a little bit deeper. Now, with Edu, you always have to look at, is it jobs for the boys? Is he trying to make sure that, because the World Cup is coming up and Artur is probably desperate to keep his place in or even get it back for Brazil. That's why you're seeing Coutinho making the move to Aston Villa. The World Cup is coming up. Keep that in mind. Edu also has a very close relationship with the Brazilian national team. So you have to look at it at the other aspect. Is Edu doing Artur Mello a favor by bringing him to the Emirates? And are we going to get equal back what he gets for playing for us? So is he going to get the playing time and get his legs back and all that kind of stuff? And are we also going to be able to see the benefit of that? Hopefully. So I'm cautiously optimistic about a player like him coming in on loan, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that he's somebody that may need a couple of games to get up to speed, but he's a quality midfielder with a lot of skills that we just don't have in our team. And when we talk about somebody that can keep the ball, can dribble, can beat a man, can also pass, can progress the ball forward, we're talking about somebody that can do what we don't see from Granit Xhaka. And so that's how I explain how good he is. Is he like top world-class midfielder? No. But is he as good or if not better than what we already have. I would say in top form, yes, he is. And so I would bring him in on loan. Let's see. Ahmed says off topic, but does your oh, this is I wish I had not clicked on this. Have to be an Arsenal fan or football fan in general. He's not an Arsenal fan, and I like people that are at least into sports, because I'm not like a normal woman. Like, I love sports, and so you kind of need to be into it too. So yeah, but he's not an Arsenal fan. So there you go. Z Gold says, "Hey Jess, just here to say, games in hand FC. Where are Arsenal at now? With a game in hand." But no, I get what you're saying, and I would say maybe not celebrate until we lose against Burnley, because if the games go in our favor and we win, we'll be kind of right back where we were before the game started. So I think it's a little bit premature, but I get that, like, you gotta get your banter in, like, when you can. But I would say, like, maybe just relax a little bit, like, just relax. Let's see. Let's see. Some people are calling our tour the Brazilian Ceballos. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Ceballos has never played for Real Madrid, but Artur has played for Barcelona, like, with Messi, So when people don't want a player, they tend to want to attach them to a player that the fan base doesn't like. But I can say that I would put money on the fact that he will be better than Ceballos. Like, Ceballos is a good player, but, like, Artur is superior to him, and it's weird. And they're, like, the same age as well. So yeah. Oh, you're a Man United fan. You're still behind us, are you not? What are you chatting about? What are you saying, Z? What are you saying now? You're still behind us on goal, and you have a game in. We got games in hand, Z. You gotta relax. But yeah, you guys, I think that we have an interesting couple of games ahead of us, because it could get really interesting or it could get really bad for us. So hopefully things go our way. Playing Liverpool tomorrow, my score prediction is 2-1 to the Arsenal. I think we will go to the final. And I think we'll play well at the Emirates. Hopefully the fans are ready to go, and we will go to the final, and we'll see what happens. And we like playing Chelsea in finals sometimes, not in Baku, but, like, as of recent. Let's not bring that up. But yeah. Oh yeah. Next round is Chelsea. Okay, so my predictions for this, or what I want to happen, is Chelsea to beat Tottenham and West Ham United to draw. That would be what I would want to happen. So yeah, let's end it there. Just a short preview. Let's reconvene tomorrow after the game, and hopefully we're talking about a win, talking about going to the final. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure that you guys like that video, subscribe to the channel, all of that great and wonderful stuff, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.